What do you think the World Cup is? An exclusive stage where 100 million population giants like Brazil, France, or Germany show off their power? A place where any country with a huge population and a lot of money automatically gets to rule? But hold on. If population decided everything, then why are population billionaires like India and China still struggling to find a ticket to the World Cup? The truth is, the history of the biggest soccer tournament on the planet has always carried thunderous slaps to the face called tiny countries. Countries so small you have to squint to find them on the map, with some populations that don't even match a borough like Brooklyn. And yet, with some kind of secret weapon, they smashed the giants in the face and created earthquakes that shook the world. Welcome back to the channel. Today, let's break down the 10 smallest countries by land area to ever qualify for the World Cup. Let's get started. Number 10. Wales. Opening our list at number 10 is a representative from Europe. With an area of only around 20,779 square kilometers, Wales is even significantly smaller than the US state of New Jersey. But don't let that modest number fool you, because this land carries a burning love for soccer. Wales doesn't have a massive domestic league system, but it has always known how to produce world-class players, from Ian Rush and Ryan Giggs to the golden generation of Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey. Wales' World Cup journey is a story soaked in waiting. Their first time stepping onto the global stage came in 1958. That year, the Red Dragons played with incredible toughness and made it all the way into the knockout stage. But their dream was crushed by a 17-year-old teenager named Pelé from Brazil. After that painful defeat, Welsh fans had to wait more than 6 decades, going through countless heartbreaks in qualifying campaigns, before finally seeing their flag fly again at Qatar 2022. Coming into the 2022 World Cup, Wales carried the enormous expectations of an entire nation. Gareth Bale's generation desperately wanted to create the kind of miracle they once made at Euro 2016. However, reality on the field was brutally harsh. Placed in a symbolic and difficult group with England, the United States, and Iran, Wales couldn't show its best form. They began with a hard-fought draw against the United States, but then unexpectedly collapsed in stoppage time against Iran, losing 0-2. In the final match, they were completely outplayed and suffered a 0-3 defeat against their giant neighbor England. Even though they finished bottom of the group and left behind plenty of regret, for a country just over 20,000 square kilometers in size, appearing on this great stage twice is already an achievement worthy of being written into the history books. Number 09. Israel. Only 9 square kilometers smaller than Wales. The country at number 9 is Israel. With an area of 20,770 square kilometers, this Middle Eastern nation is nearly 20 times smaller than the US state of California. Israel's soccer history is a strange chain of upheavals, and the only World Cup they've ever played in, Mexico 1970, came with one of the most unusual qualifying stories in world soccer history. At the time, because of complex geopolitical issues, Israel couldn't compete normally in qualifying with teams from Asia, the AFC, or Europe, UEFA. Instead, they had to fight for a playoff spot against representatives from Oceania. Through extraordinary effort, Israel defeated Australia and officially wrote its name into the list of teams attending the biggest soccer festival on Earth in 1970. But when the group draw was made, fate once again decided to tease this tiny country. They landed in a true group of death. Israel's opponents were Sweden, a strong European force, Uruguay, a former world champion with a tough and tricky style of play, and Italy, the team that later went all the way to the final. No expert dared to believe Israel could earn even 1 point. In their opening match, they lost 0-2 to Uruguay, a result many had already expected. But something incredible happened in the next 2 matches. With a disciplined defensive system, strong fitness, and a nothing-to-lose mentality, Israel held Sweden to a 1-1 draw. And they didn't stop there. In their final match against the mighty Italian team filled with legends like Luigi Riva, Israel shocked the world again by stubbornly finishing the game with a 0-0 draw. Even though they had to pack their bags and go home early, the fact that a tiny country could go unbeaten against 2 European giants at a World Cup was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime achievement. Number 08. Slovenia. As we keep shrinking the map, we arrive at number 8, Slovenia, with an area of only 20,273 square kilometers. To make it easier to picture, Slovenia is 15 times smaller than its neighbor Italy. Before 1991, Slovenia was only part of the Yugoslav Federation. When Yugoslavia broke apart, the former Yugoslavia had already been a soccer powerhouse, but Slovenia was the part that received much less attention compared with Croatia or Serbia. And yet, this small country tucked beside the Alpine Mountains has built an extremely stable and stubborn soccer culture, helping them qualify for the World Cup twice. Their first appearance came in 2002 in Japan and South Korea. Sadly, it became a forgettable memory, as internal conflicts tore the team apart, and they lost all 3 group stage matches. But Slovenia didn't give up. 8 years later, in South Africa 2010, they returned with a completely different look. Even though they didn't yet have superstar goalkeeper Jan Oblak at the time, they still had a united squad led by captain Robert Koren and goalkeeper Samir Handanovic. Placed in Group C with England, the United States, and Algeria, Slovenia shined. In the opening match, they impressively defeated Algeria 1-0. In their second match against the United States, Slovenia even took a 2-0 lead in the first half with a fiery counter-attacking style before being pulled back to 2-2 in the second half. With just a draw in the final match, this tiny country would have proudly marched into the knockout round. Unfortunately, in the decisive match against England, one moment of lost focus in the first half cost them the only goal of the game. The 0-1 defeat to England, combined with the United States scoring in the final minutes of the other match being played at the same time, cruelly erased Slovenia from the tournament. Even though they fell right at the gate of history, their 2010 campaign proved Slovenia's sharp tactical thinking and impressive ability to develop players. Number 07. Kuwait. Standing at number 7 is Kuwait, a Middle Eastern country with an area of just 17,818 square kilometers. What makes Kuwait special is that most of its landscape is empty desert, and more than 70% of its population lives around the capital area. If you look at a map of Asia, you'll have to strain your eyes to even spot its borders. But in the 1980s, Kuwait's national soccer team was a real force, a blue storm ready to sweep away any opponent in Asia. The biggest achievement for Kuwait's golden generation was qualifying for the 1982 World Cup in Spain. Even more interesting, their coach at the time was Carlos Alberto Pereira, the Brazilian manager who, 12 years later, would lead Brazil to the World Championship. Under Pereira's guidance, Kuwait played a technical style of soccer, but the draw pushed them into a hopeless group with Czechoslovakia, Michel Platini's France, and England. In their opening match, Kuwait made global fans rub their eyes in disbelief when they impressively held Czechoslovakia, a powerful Eastern European side at the time, to a 1-1 draw. Suddenly, hope was alive. But in the second match against France, the gap in class spoke for itself. France completely dominated and won 4-1. That match also went into World Cup history with one of the strangest incidents ever. When France scored its 4th goal, the Kuwaiti players stopped because they thought they had heard the referee's whistle. Angry that the goal had been allowed, the president of the Kuwait Football Association at the time, Prince Sheikh Fahad Al Ahmad Al Sabah, walked straight down from the stands onto the field to protest to the referee. Somehow, almost magically, the referee changed his decision and disallowed the goal. Even so, Kuwait still lost the match and later fell again against England, leaving the tournament in disappointment. But their appearance remains one of the classic legends of World Cup history. Number 06. Northern Ireland. Moving deeper into the list, we meet a very familiar name with a shockingly small land area, Northern Ireland. With only 14,130 square kilometers, this country is roughly the size of the U.S. state of Connecticut, or in other words, much smaller than a mid-sized Australian state. Even though it's modest geographically, Northern Ireland's World Cup legacy is so massive that even bigger countries would envy it. They didn't appear just once, but 3 times, in 1958, 1982, and 1986. Their first appearance in 1958 immediately caused a major shock. Placed in a group with Germany, Argentina, and Czechoslovakia, no one believed they could survive. And yet, with the fighting spirit of warriors, They defeated Czechoslovakia, drew with Germany, and brilliantly finished second in the group to move straight into the quarterfinals. Even though they later lost 0-4 to France, their journey became legendary. And the miracle didn't stop there. At the 1982 World Cup, Northern Ireland created one of the most shocking upsets in tournament history. Placed in a group with host nations Spain, Yugoslavia, and Honduras, they began with 2 draws. In the final group match, they had to face host nation Spain in the heat of Valencia, surrounded by tens of thousands of hostile fans. Everyone thought a heavy defeat was waiting for Northern Ireland. But no. With an iron defensive system and an iron mentality, Jerry Armstrong scored a priceless goal, helping Northern Ireland defeat host nation Spain 1-0 in their own fortress. That goal put Northern Ireland on top of the group and sent them proudly into the next round. Northern Ireland's story is one of the strongest proofs that when you have belief, even the most terrifying giants can be knocked down by a small stone. Number 05, Qatar. We're officially entering the top 5. At number 5 is Qatar, the host nation of the most recent 2022 World Cup. With an area of 11,586 square kilometers, Qatar is so small that if you look at a world map, you have to zoom in closely just to see its shape sticking out from the Arabian Peninsula. This country is much smaller than the state of Florida, and most of its population is concentrated around the luxurious capital city of Doha. Although Qatar is small in land area and population, it has almost unlimited financial resources. Aware of its weakness in natural player supply, Qatar didn't sit around waiting forever. They chose to use money to shorten time. They spent billions of dollars building the Super Academy Aspire Academy, one of the most advanced soccer laboratories in the world. There, everything from medicine and nutrition to data analysis is used to train young talents. They hired top experts from Spain and Brazil to teach. Thanks to this strategy, Qatar rose strongly, reaching its peak with a convincing Asian Cup title in 2019. Carrying that sky-high confidence into the 2022 World Cup at home, Qatar hoped to make history. They played in Copa America and the Gold Cup to prepare. But the World Cup stage was harsher than anything they had imagined. The massive psychological pressure of being the host nation made the legs of Qatar's players feel like they were filled with lead. Right in the opening match, they delivered a sluggish performance and lost easily to Ecuador. With their confidence shattered, Qatar then suffered a 1-3 defeat to a Senegal side that was physically superior, and finally fell 0-2 against the Netherlands. Qatar became the worst-performing host nation in tournament history. Their journey proved that money and facilities can build a strong team, but courage and World Cup experience are things that must be forged through blood, sweat, and tears across many generations. Number 04, Jamaica. The number 4 spot belongs to a beautiful and famous island nation in the Caribbean, Jamaica. The land of Bob Marley and lightning-fast track athletes has an area of only about 10,991 square kilometers, meaning it's not even half the size of Wales. Although Jamaica is globally famous for music and sprinting, its appearance at the Soccer World Cup finals was truly a fascinating cultural shock. In 1998, in France, the Reggae Boys officially entered history. The image of Jamaica's national team stepping onto the field in bright jerseys colored yellow, green, and black became a classic symbol of the 1990s. Their qualifying journey was once compared to the fairy tale story of Jamaica's bobsled team at the Winter Olympics. Surprising, inspiring, and extraordinary. Placed in a group with Argentina, Croatia, and Japan, Jamaica honestly didn't have many chances to compete. In the opening match, they fought hard and scored against a strong Croatia side, but still suffered a 1-3 defeat. The biggest gap in quality appeared in the second match, when they faced Argentina, with Gabriel Batistuta and Ariel Ortega. The South American team showed no mercy and crushed Jamaica 5-0. Still, the Caribbean spirit never died. In the final match, a pride game against Japan, Jamaica delivered an explosive performance. Midfielder Theodore Whitmore became a national hero by scoring both goals, helping Jamaica defeat Japan 2-1. Leaving France with 3 points in hand, Jamaica held its head high with pride. They proved that music and soccer can blend perfectly to create unforgettable emotions. Number 03, Trinidad and Tobago. We've entered the top 3. and the land area numbers are now starting to look insane. Standing at number 3 is Trinidad and Tobago, a tiny island nation located on the southern edge of the Caribbean Sea, only a few dozen kilometers from the coast of Venezuela. With an area of only 5,130 square kilometers, this country is only slightly bigger than a large tourist island. For comparison, it's nearly 2,000 times smaller than the United States and 69 times smaller than Germany. If it were a US state, it would rank 50th in land area. And yet, at the 2006 World Cup in Germany, this tiny country created a real shock. The team nicknamed the Soca Warriors came to the tournament with a core of players from lower divisions in England and Scotland, except for their brightest star, Dwight Yorke, the famous former Manchester United striker, who was already on the far side of his career and playing out his later years in Australia, along with veteran goalkeeper Shaka Hislop. Placed in a group with Sweden, England, and Paraguay, everyone predicted Trinidad and Tobago would become a shooting target for the big teams. But look at what happened in the opening match. Facing a fiery Swedish attack featuring Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Henrik Larsson, and playing with 10 men from early on, Trinidad and Tobago defended stubbornly and impressively held the match to a 0-0 draw. Goalkeeper Hislop had one of those unbelievable days. In the second match, they faced England's golden generation, with Beckham, Lampard, Gerrard, and Rooney. The tiny Caribbean team parked a solid double-decker bus and kept frustrating attacking superstars worth hundreds of millions of pounds. Every English attempt sank into desperation. At one point, Trinidad and Tobago almost scored against England if John Terry hadn't cleared the ball right off the line. It wasn't until the 83rd minute, thanks to the towering height of the robot, Peter Crouch, that England finally opened the scoring with a header before Gerrard sealed the 2-0 win in stoppage time. Even though Trinidad and Tobago were eliminated after losing to Paraguay in the final match, the fact that a 5,000 square kilometer country kept a clean sheet for the first 173 minutes of the tournament was a great miracle that will be remembered forever. Number 02. Cape Verde. And now, we move toward completely new historic milestones from the 2026 World Cup. Standing as the runner-up on the list of the smallest countries is Cape Verde, also known as Cabo Verde, with an area of only 4,033 square kilometers. Sitting alone in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, about 600 kilometers off the coast of West Africa, Cape Verde is a dry volcanic island nation with a tiny population. It's hard to imagine that a country with such limited land and resources could produce a team capable of competing at the global level. However, Cape Verde's strength has never been limited by its geographic borders. The history of this island nation is tied to massive waves of migration to Europe, especially Portugal, France, and the Netherlands. Today, the number of people with Cape Verdean blood living abroad is even larger than the population living inside the country. And that is the golden key that opened the door to success for their soccer program. Cape Verde's national team, nicknamed the Blue Sharks, is actually a collection of diaspora talents trained professionally in famous top European academies. Because they were exposed early to modern tactical thinking, advanced nutrition science, and the professional playing environment of the old continent, Cape Verdean players carry excellent technical quality combined with the rawness and endurance of their African roots. Over the years, they have repeatedly created buzz at the Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON, by blocking countless giants such as Ghana and Nigeria. And with the 2026 World Cup expanding the number of participating teams, Cape Verde fully took advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They fought with persistence through every match in African qualifying to officially win the golden ticket to North America. Cape Verde's presence at the 2026 World Cup isn't just the victory of a tiny island nation, but the anthem of a huge diaspora community, whose hearts always turn back to their homeland. Number 01. Curaçao. Get ready, because we've reached the number 1 spot, a record that may never be broken in the history of world soccer. The smallest country by land area ever to participate in a World Cup is Curaçao, with a number that makes people rub their eyes: 444 square kilometers. You heard that right, 444 square kilometers, meaning it's only slightly larger than Vietnam's Phu Quoc Island and about 115,000 the size of Australia. How can a tiny island thrown into the Caribbean Sea compete at the 2026 World Cup? The secret lies in their special historical connection. Curaçao is a constituent country of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. This advantage gives them a direct link to one of the most developed and greatest soccer cultures in Europe. Like Cape Verde, Curaçao's strength comes from its diaspora community. For decades, thousands of families with Curaçao roots have migrated and settled in Amsterdam or Rotterdam. These children of Caribbean blood grew up breathing the thick soccer atmosphere of the Netherlands and training in famous academies like Ajax, PSV, and Feyenoord. When they grow up, players like Leandro Bacuna, Eloy Room, or Juninho Bacuna may not be strong enough to compete for a spot on the Dutch national team, but when they return to wear the shirt of their homeland Curaçao, they become true superstars. This team, nicknamed La Familia Azul, or the Blue Family, doesn't need to build an expensive development system from scratch. They benefit directly from the perfect soccer ecosystem of the Netherlands. With polished technique, sharp tactical thinking, and a smooth total football style, carrying the spirit of the Orange Storm, Curaçao played brilliantly in CONCACAF. And the shock truly exploded when they impressively overcame countless regional giants to write their name into the 2026 World Cup finals. Curaçao's story goes far beyond sports. It's a celebration of cultural connection and a talent strategy used with almost perfect intelligence. From the cold hills of Wales and the sun-soaked beaches of Jamaica to tiny islands like Trinidad and Tobago and Curaçao. No matter how small you are, as long as you have a big enough dream and a smart enough strategy, you can absolutely make even the greatest giants bow their heads in respect. And who knows, in future World Cups we may once again witness unfamiliar names and other tiny countries writing new fairy tales. Which country's journey on this list impressed you the most? Is there another small team you're waiting to see make history? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss any exciting videos coming next. Goodbye, and I'll see you again on the next adventure across the world's soccer fields.